Good day. Glad you've joined me this morning, or if it's afternoon, or it's evening, or it's the day after, but we're filming this on Thursday morning here at Back Bay Mission in my office. And I'm going to take a little bit of a lighter direction today. I want to share my new coffee traveling mug with you. It's from the greenhouse here in Ocean Springs, and also, actually, they have a new greenhouse cafe here in downtown Biloxi. And it's really become one of my favorite places, and if truth be told, it is kind of my Sunday morning Sabbath worship space. I haven't quite connected with the community of faith here. As you know, there's no United Church of Christ. On the coast, I visited several churches, but haven't kind of made a commitment to any. And so I go to the greenhouse in Ocean Springs, which is relatively close to the beach in Ocean Springs, Front Beach. And then I kind of take a walk on Front Beach, and I do my prayer and my meditation and my communication with God. I know it's not quite the same as being in a worship setting or in a church, but for right now, it's really feeding my soul. And the greenhouse there in Ocean Springs on Porter has a fantastic side yard during COVID where they have picnic tables, they have chairs, they have some swings, they have a stage that eventually they're going to have some evening events at. But it reminded me, because they're famous for their biscuits there. Good old Southern biscuits, as Kevin shared with me. That's a great thing about being in the South, is the biscuits, right? And I completely agree. If you haven't been there, go there, take advantage of it. If you come down to visit and you're from Wisconsin, Ohio, or Minnesota, or Texas, or wherever, they have a savory biscuit each day, and then they have a sweet biscuit each day, and you'll be amazed and surprised at their creativity. I think my favorite one was really a peanut butter biscuit with a sweet kind of jelly on it with some strawberries that was absolutely fantastic. But what I want to share today is something that came out of my visit to the greenhouse, and it's this particular sticker that just says everyone. I saw this in the window, and actually they had some for sale at the Biloxi one, and so I asked the question, what does that mean and what was the purpose? And they said, well, the owner of the greenhouse decided to start kind of a movement, right? In Ocean Springs, a movement of inclusion and equity. And the everyone sticker says that everybody is included, everybody is welcome, there is nobody that's excluded. And very specifically, the owner, Jesse, said to me, that's around LGBT, that's around communities of color, that's around how you express your gender, that's about being a man or a woman, a Republican or Democrat, because Jesse felt that during this time of incredible division, it's really important to have a message of inclusion and bringing people together and reminding us that we're one human race. And the other thing that I found out is right now that they're selling these everyone stickers for $2, that the proceeds actually go to one of the organizations that we partner with here at Back Bay Mission, and that's the Mississippi Center for Justice. One of our partner organizations that works for housing equity, employment equity, and just justice in general here on the coast of Mississippi and then throughout the state of Mississippi. I've been doing diversity training pretty much all my life, ever since my graduation from seminary and my first campus ministry setting. Diversity training kind of has become really pop. It's one of those things that it seems like lots of folks want to get involved in, lots of folks do. But I've had the opportunity to do diversity training at university settings, organizational settings around not-for-profits, also police departments, which is a really interesting setting, right? And government settings. But I have to say, the biggest challenge of diversity training that I think I've experienced was in the setting of the church. The church. For some reason, church folk have a real challenge around diversity of thought, have a real challenge around inclusion. And I've asked myself many a time questions around that. especially because I'm ordained. I've been a pastor in the Lutheran tradition, and I've been a pastor now for the last several years in the United Church of Christ, is why do churched folk or religious folk have such difficulty around diversity and inclusion? I think sometimes it's around doctrine, right? It's around teachings. It's around what we believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, then you can't be in my camp and you can't be included in my group. That sometimes churches even have like tests of doctrine, right? They test you to see if you have pure doctrine, you have right doctrine, you follow the right principles, or you have good theology. But I think it's so much about individuals' understanding of God and who God is. Now, there's a writer and an author by the name of Anne Lamott that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But she says this, and this is one of my very favorite quotes from Anne Lamott. She says, "You can safely assume you've created God in your own image when it turns out that God hates all the same people you do." Did you hear that? That's fascinating, isn't it? She says, you can safely assume you've created God in your own image when it turns out that God hates all the same people that you do. Sad to say, we have probably all created God in our own image. And I would say that includes me. I don't want to leave myself out and pretend to know better, right? Because we've all had our certain experiences of families we've grown up in, the culture we've grown up in, and maybe even the church traditions that we grew up in that inform our understanding of God. And our understanding of God is we always call God he and not she, which I found perplexing. Because if you look at the Older Testament, God does not have a gender. The word for God is genderless, so to speak. And that God is all and God is everything. Laura, our development director, and I, we went to lunch yesterday with somebody who would like to support Back Bay Mission and potentially provide radio spots that reflect on the mission and the work of Back Bay Mission. Strange how during the course of the 2-hour lunch we also got into a conversation around God and who God is. And come to find that this individual is, he said, a little bit more than 50% Jewish, and that he's been, like myself, on a spiritual journey and a quest to find God, to find the essence of God. And he said, yeah, I've been an atheist, I've been an agnostic, which has also been my journey. But he said, I've come back to this understanding of God, that God is an energy. And God is bigger than our definitions of God, our perceptions of God, our understandings of God. That it's the God of the universe and potentially the God of universes, right? A divine energy that takes in all human beings, all plant life, all animal life, all soil, all stars, all moons, and all planets. I have this sticker that's on the doors to my desk where I hide some of my piles. And I'm assuming Kevin is getting a picture of that. And it says, diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. I would have to say that is one of my images of God. That God is a God of diversity. He created all of us, and we're so diverse. We're diverse in our thoughts. We're diverse in the way we look. There's no two people that look exactly alike, except, of course, for identical twins, right? And even sometimes there's a difference there. And I think God is the God that invites us to the dance and asks us to participate in the dance. That was actually a quote that was coined by Verna Myers, who is actually somebody who is a diversity and inclusion expert. And she shared this on a TED Talk that I heard a number of months ago. And she told a Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association on that TED Talk that overcoming prejudice starts with identifying our unconscious bias and trying to rewire our brains to welcome differences and to think more inclusively. So why this topic at this time? Why talk about a God that is so much bigger than our imagination, so much bigger than our creativity? A God that we dare not put in a box, right? And a God that in so many ways we've created into our own kind of patriarchal Godfather who doles out good and doles out bad to his or her children. I think because it's incredibly difficult at this time to see humanity so divided. And this woman, Verna Myers, who shared that quote about diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to actually participate in the dance, she said she's really a good person to talk about this because she's lived in diversity and has dealt with diversity and inclusion her whole life, because she said, after all, I've been a black woman my whole life. And so I ask you today several questions. First of all, how do you imagine God, this divine energy? Do you have a kind of a narrow viewpoint of God? Do you have a very narrow doctrine? Do you have a set of laws that you need to follow? Or do you have a set of laws that you think others need to follow, or doctrines they need to follow to be in the camp, to be a part of the community? Or do you allow God to be God and allow God to be whomever God desires to be in the world and in the lives of others? Because we all have a different connection. And that's one of the things that Laura and I talked about with this individual at lunch is we all have a different expression. We all have a different connection. We all have a different understanding of God. And isn't that how God is? God meets us where we are at. God meets the individuals we serve here at Back Bay Mission wherever they are at. A few weeks ago when Sarah and I walked through the camp, I remember I kept thinking in the woods, I kept thinking, God is here. In fact, God is in this camp in ways that are more obvious to me than oftentimes when I walk into a very clean, sterile church sanctuary or space, right? Because God is in the leaves, and God is in the trees, and God is in the hearts of these people that are living under these trees, in tents, in cars, out under the stars, because God is the God of all. So I think today I'd like you to think about your image of God, and then your image of kind of who's in and who's out, right? That we know we live in diversity, but who do we include in the dance? Who do we invite to the dance? And that's what I love about being here at Back Bay Mission, because I have a chance to work with 5 case managers and other staff that do the rebuilds, the housing, the marketing, the finances, the administrative work, that do all this work with one purpose: to invite the people that we serve to the dance. Knowing that they are a diverse group of people, they oftentimes come with mental health issues. They oftentimes come with mental health issues because they've been homeless for a time. And if you've lived on the streets or under the stars or in the woods for a number of months, there's going to be some mental health issues, right, that surface, because that's hard, that's difficult. You feel as if you're on the outside of the culture and outside of the human race. And the way that they're often treated as they're panhandling, so to speak, on the streets and asking for money, is they're treated as others, as less than, when in essence they are us and we are them. And so that's the other thing I'd like you to think about is, number one, your image and your understanding of God, and broaden that image, expand your image of God. Let your God be in this universe and beyond this universe, the God of all universes and the God of the cosmos. And then think about, who do you invite to the dance? Who do you invite to the party? Who is a part of your life? And do you have a diverse group of folks that you understand and you know and that you would call friend and that you would call acquaintance, so that you can understand other people? And by understanding others and inviting others to the dance, it improves our own understanding of self and our opportunity to engage in the dance of life. I'd like to end today with another favorite quote, because I love quotes. Quotes can be, oh golly, some of those really powerful moments in life, right, that can zap you and change your life when it affects you. And this one is by a wonderful woman by the name of Maya Angelou, who needs no introduction. She says, we all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry. And we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value no matter what their color. I thank Maya Angelou for being a voice throughout her lifetime, and a voice for a diverse, expansive God, and a voice for a diverse and expansive humanity. And that's what we need right now as we're hopefully at the tail end of COVID, right? We continue to do this good work at Back Bay Mission. And I invite you now to get involved in this conversation and respond on Facebook, send this out to some other folks, encourage people to get involved in this conversation, get involved at Back Bay Mission, share this, share these ideas, and share these messages with those that you're in relationship with to really help us to expand, to broaden our understanding of God and our understanding of humanity and our own divinity, and that we're all a part of God and God is a part of us. So I thank you so much for joining us this morning or this day, whenever it is. I invite you to share this and invite you to respond, and hopefully we'll respond back to you, because that's kind of what it's all about. It's all about opening the conversation up and sharing the conversation with others and growing beyond where we're currently at, right? Because I think that's the key, is we want to be people that grow, that expand, that experience new things, and that share those experiences with others. So I ask that God would give you a splendid, amazing day wherever you are at. Again, join us next week, and join us also for our candid conversations as we hear from some of the staff here at Back Bay Mission. So thanks again, and blessings on your day.